Thank you very much, Pastry. Indeed, with Bang after locking in first place with SKT in what was a close game. Very interesting team compositions on both sides. Bang, a lot of AD on your side, and then Nautilus and Kha'Zix on the other side. What were the challenges of playing versus that IMA composition?
우선 조 1위로 8강 진출한 걸 축하드립니다. 다음 경기는 이제 매우 치열했는데요. 이제 SKT는 올 AD의 조합이었고 상대방은 카직스랑 노틸리스처럼 이번 때 처음 보는 픽들이 많았는데 경기하는데 어려움이 어떤 게 있었나요?
저희가 처음에 올 AD인 걸 알면서도 그냥 이제 상대 챔프들이 포킹에 좀 약할 것 같아서 준비한 대로 된 것 같아요.
So even though like we were all AD, we thought that their composition isn't good against our poking composition, so we thought that it would be okay, and the game went pretty well.
Well, you won in the end and locked in first place going into the quarterfinals as a first seed out of the group. Now that you've seen all the possible opponents play, who do you think will be your biggest opponent going into the rest of the tournament in the road to the Summoners Cup, and why?
지금까지 어쨌든 모든 팀들 경기를 다 2주 동안 지켜봤는데 SKT1 팀이 3연패를 이루기 위해서 소환사컵을 거머쥐기까지 가장 큰 걸림돌이 될 팀은 어디가 있을까요?
굳이 꼽자면 이제 작년에 저희랑 결승 무대에서 겨뤘던 락스 타이거즈 만나는 게 좀 가장 껄끄러울 것 같고요. 그냥 뭐 지금 사실 8강에 올라온 팀들이 전부 잘하는 팀이어서 다 껄끄러운데 이제 뭐 잘해야죠.
So I think, of course, the team that we fought against last year at finals, Rocks Tigers, they'd be the biggest threat to us to win the Summers Cup. And even for the quarterfinals, all 8 teams are very competitive. They're all really good. So I think it's going to be a very tough job.
All right, well, we will see what happens. First seed locked in here. Thank you very much. Dash, take it away.
Thank you very much, Shocks. Before we get into anything, we got to welcome Deficio back to the desk.
Do we really?
Well, maybe we don't, but I already did. So, but
Yeah,
what a game
you.
to come back to, am I right? We've got a Nautilus top and a Kha'Zix jungle. How are you feeling about that?
I don't really know how I feel about it. I mean, Crumbs and I, we went to the Church of Spawn. He tried to teach us about, LPL and IMA, and I will admit, I believed it at first, but now I realize he's actually just super crazy and he's just saying a lot of nonsense.
If you're going to try to beat SKT, you got to come out with some pepper jack, something a little different, and actually try to surprise them, which, to their credit, kind of worked, but honestly, they didn't execute it to the way that it should have.
Hey, and some of those mid-game team fights could have gone either way. Just
you were screaming like it went really well, and then
I was hollered like a hooligan at some points, but I really respect the fact that I'm just going to go back to it. You're not going to beat this team playing standard if you are IMA. You do not have the raw talent on your roster to be able to take it to them. So what do? You play your style of League of Legends. Nautilus has always been a huge pick for this team, and it nearly worked.
That said, going through picks and bans here, having seen Kate and Karma locked in within the first 2 rotations, I have to question the Bard pickup for Road, because we saw how much trouble they had in that bot lane, even keeping their turret alive in the 2v2.
I mean, at this point, we even question if they should have even played Road. Whereas Athena and Baby combination, that worked well the first time around. But I didn't really have too big a deal with the Bard, because if you're, I guess, expecting a Varus, then you can easily deal with that with the likes of Bard.
I think the biggest thing is you have to look at players' tendencies, and Bard for Road is a big comfort pick, and this is a pressure game for him. And he also wants to, he has a small champion pool, so he wants to be on something he's comfortable against if you're playing against a duo lane. So was it a great pick? No. Can I understand why he locks it in? Sure.
Could you have played, other things like maybe Nami to try and get a stronger 2v2 bot lane? It could actually be a good choice, because IMA's problem in this game was they lost the bot lane so hard. Top lane was actually going well. Mid lane was doing fine. Bot lane, nope.
And that's the thing, right? We saw about a 4 to 5K gold lead established by 20 minutes for SKT, and at that point, your tankiness, can't necessarily keep up to the damage that's being built in straight AD. I mean, at 21 minutes, and I want to take a look at this fight, because it's the one fight that did kind of illustrate how IMA's comp could work, ending up 3 for 1.
Yeah, and they get a big catch here, and then the follow-up is just instant, and that's one thing I will credit IMA on. They don't hesitate, they layer their CC very well, and they're able to pick up a team fight. If the Kha'Zix had a little bit more damage, if they were positioning slightly better in this fight,
if it was a different champion.
If Olaf was in the fight, Olaf was just running around the entire time, not even there in the beginning, so it's a lot easier to engage.
What are you talking about? Fake is dead.
Yeah, now he is. Before that, Fake also was chasing someone on the right side. So the problem with this IMA composition is that individual parts look pretty cool. Nautilus against full AD poke comp. Nice. That looks awesome, right? Bard against Pokemon, you can engage with ulti. Great. Cassiopeia against a Pokemon, it doesn't work. That's why SKT drafted a Pokemon position against it, because they saw it so early. She had a hard time dealing damage. Jin sits back and fires the 4 shots. And let's talk about the last guy in this comp, the Kha'Zix.
Well,
Brilliant.
The way you want to play
Let's not talk
Kha'Zix-
about that. Let's
We
breeze
have
right
to
past
almost.
that one.
No,
I would have liked
no,
to see.
let's
I want to
talk
see a
about it.
mouth fight in the top lane
No.
or in the jungle.
Well, the reason you want to play Kha'Zix as a flanker, you want him to just be stealthing in and then surprising the opponent. But what ended up happening so many times, I may just charge straight on, and that's never going to work because it makes it disengage way too easy. And time again, we just saw Kha'Zix running straight ahead. And in one of those fights, that one in particular, if you pay attention, Kha'Zix actually contributed 0 to the fight. He did no damage whatsoever, hit nothing, didn't even put any sort of pressure. And that's just the theme of Kha'Zix as a champion right now. You just don't offer too much to your team.
And that's the key thing. He's not a team fighting pick. And you were picking Nautilus to start team fights. I wrote down a few champions that could have been better than Kha'Zix. I might need your help reading some of them. I got Skarner, Lee Sin, Rek'Sai, Wukong, Jarvan, Vi, Nocturne, AD Teemo, Hecarim, Udyr, AD Evelyn as well for the flank.
Yes.
All would
so
actually have done
literally
more
every AD champion that can jungle.
that I could think of and just
Right,
write
I've
down.
seen you jungle Ash, though. So that
Fantastic.
could have been
Okay,
better,
yeah,
too.
the
That would
jungle
have
Ash,
been more
man, you go, y'all wait. All right, but no, I want to return to Spawn's point about SKT and the fact that you playing them standard, you're going to lose. Because we saw, even with what these curveballs that were thrown at them, they still were able to play a slow, a smart game, right? They waited for their opportunity, they found their fights, and this is where I want to push us forward to that 42-minute mark in Spawn. I'll let you take this one.
Yeah, and when you have a look at how they just set up around objectives as a team, the fact that they have very good vision control and they kite back as a unit, even though 4 of them get hit by a stun. I mean,
It actually is almost better for them.
yeah, the ability for this team to like just play as a unit, like a very, very disciplined, well-drilled team, and still execute on the micro in the game is why they are just so good.
Faker with the flash.
And it makes me wonder if SKT is just trying to have fun here and picking all these incredibly difficult compositions and just saying, how far can we push our limits here? Because nobody else is going to try to draft what we saw this game and the previous one and actually have such success with it.
Yeah, I think it's just super, super scary that when you play SKT, the only way you kind of beat them is in the early game if you can shut down Faker. But often you have to invest like 2 or 3 guys to do that, and you have to consistently do it and then make no mistakes after. That's how Flash Wolves beat them last week. But as we see now with SKT, whenever they do fine mid-game or in the early game, whenever Faker does not get shut down, they get into this mid to late game point where they run around as a group. Blank suddenly has no issues because he's with the team, and their team fights so well. They walk the flanks, they know exactly what to do. And that's why they are one of the absolute best teams in the world.
But it also requires your star player to be the mid laner. And unfortunately, for teams like IMA, that just is not the case. Athena or Bami is really never going to be able to challenge Faker consistently enough to play that style of game, which is why I think you really do struggle. And that's why I'm happy they threw the curve.
And while Faker is the star, the player of the game here is Bang for consistency. Because behind a star player, you need to have a consistent team that can support him.
And he kept getting targeted by the actual engages, but his use of QSS and being able to really put himself in the position where he's not going to be isolated by Kha'Zix, where he's not going to get one shot, which is quite difficult to do, to be honest, as a Kha'Zix, and just being able to dish out so much damage. And honestly, he just crushed the laning phase, Flame Horizon, the other AD carry, and is just never looking back.
I do think SKT have a bit of an easy time when it comes to the bot lane. In this group they're in here, C9 is not known for a strong bot lane, IMA is not known for a fantastic bot lane either, Flash Wolves is the same. So they don't actually get challenged early on. And I think we talk about, maybe camping Faker, shutting him down. If that is not an option, I can see the 2v2 bot lane go in favor of some of the other teams at Worlds, and that can actually give an advantage, unlike what we saw in this game.
Well, the first seed is secured by SKT, and the race for second is on. Worlds 2016 continues with IMA taking on Cloud9. 3.5 minutes.
Going in for it again, Faker a little low, forced to flash out. Blank's actually collapsing, but Rhodes here with Wolf and avoid this in the back, but Athena's a little too low. Damage not quite there, but it is enough from Blank. Wolf is going to get knocked up. Bang eats in as well. Athena, he's in the back as Wolf goes down, but Bang's the target. And there's the curtain call lining up. Blank going to chase in after Athena. Rui gets exhausted as avoids went straight to the back line, but blown up as Bang will get sniped by the Jhin. SKT clean up what kills they can and secure #1.